God damn it, Tyler. Why did you put this fucking thing? Oh, we're live? Okay.
What's going on, everybody? All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of College Football Uncensored. For now, brought to you by Saturday Down
Wait,
South.
oh, no.
I
I thought
don't
we
know.
were just changing our colors or something. I didn't know we were going to rebrand the whole fucking thing.
I'm your host, Tyler Huck, and with me, as always, Chris Marler. Chris, I love the shirt. Love
Yeah.
the get up.
I know.
How are we loving Bama right now in the tournament?
You know, honestly, from a legal standpoint, I'm not allowed to say.
Oh, yeah?
The moment I do, I'm sure Brandon Walker will hear the echoes as they just go flow up the Appalachian Trail into his ears up in New York. And also Justin Nails, our coworker, I think he might murder me. So
so there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I didn't think you were supposed to even be on Twitter. So let's start there.
I'm back, baby. Listen, and here's the thing. I get that Jesus wanted us to do the whole 40-day thing. And I failed again for the 36th year in a row.
Yep.
Do you have any idea how worried his family probably was about him and his fans and his disciples?
Yeah.
By Judas. So I just know that everybody was probably not doing as well emotionally without me. And when you are somebody that brings such positivity to everything you do,
fair.
I felt like I owed it to my fan to come back. That's all, you know.
So is the beef between you and Brandon Walker a real thing? Feels like it is.
I will tell you personally, I do not like him at all. And it is I don't think about man, I tell you what, he did this today. But I do not like him at all. I think he's not a good person.
Yeah, he seems a little intense for my liking, but I like a lot of other people at Barstool, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I personally think the Bama looks great, so I can say that. I'm not under any signed contracts.
I mean, they do look pretty good. Did you watch March Madness this weekend?
Did I watch March Madness?
Yeah.
I did, indeed.
Both of them?
Yes.
Wait, really?
Yes.
You watch men's and women's?
Oh, no, not women's. I'm sorry.
I don't like the way you answered that.
Jesus.
I didn't know doing here the women's, but I got we're gonna talk about this on the pod too. The gatekeeping for fandom that's happening right now with I brought it before about how you don't like you only like football, you don't like basketball, and you're a fog, a football only gump or whatever it is. And it's okay. Somebody yelled at me in a Twitter space the other night because I didn't know that our women's basketball team played at roughly the same time our men's team was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I still feel bad about, and I probably will never get over that.
I'm sure it's been tearing you up ever since.
It's tearing up my heart.
By the way, we're gonna be lighter on live listeners tonight because we somehow got disconnected from the SDS Facebook group.
Oh, I think that's I actually figured that part out. I think it was I'm assuming it just has to be with Wes Baderis and Emery Picker. They probably just
I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but we're not live on there today. It was just on the YouTube and the SDS podcast Facebook. So
why don't you put it on mine?
I don't know. I don't have
access. You put it on Twitter at all?
We only have 3 now because our StreamYard services are coming to the end.
Yeah, we're gonna switch to a different platform.
All right. Well, let's jump into it. I will say, if you're watching live, we've got this cool little thing down at the bottom that tells you what we're going to talk about. The Tom Hart interview. My guess is you'll only be able to listen to that on the audio version. I don't think we're gonna have a way to play this after this.
Yeah, we talked for 30 minutes. It went about how you think it would. I probably asked about 8 or 9 questions, and he would hear me ask the question, and then he would immediately turn into a different direction. And so we're just hanging out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well. So if you want to listen to that, go listen to the audio version. Plus, did you guys do video as well?
Yeah.
Maybe we could post the video separately of this.
I'm not going to do that because that's wearing this shirt too. So.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's get into it. March Madness. No, we're not going to just talk about Bama, although they've looked great. There's been a couple teams that have looked really good. But let's start in the South region. That is the one that has Bama still in it. They're going up against San Diego State. And then it's Creighton and Princeton.
So Creighton also is like, and I don't know if this is like a serious thing or I'm pretty sure it's just something that Bama fans do to like try to piss off Auburn fans. But there's like this whole like ongoing joke or saying or whatever that like Bama's biggest football rival is Tennessee. Bama's biggest basketball rival is Creighton.
Okay.
Like they've had some obviously some, I guess, games before. I wasn't watching them because I just started watching it in February. But yeah, so like that's like I'm just trying to prepare myself for the letdown because it's so fucking hard to win this tournament in general. Yeah. And I can't wrap my head around Bama doing that. I just can't. That being said, there are some nightmare scenarios that could like really hurt if Bama loses to certain teams.
Okay. Princeton's obviously been a great story here. I mean, it's shocking enough that they beat Arizona. But then, like, I thought Missouri looked great in the first round against the Utah State team that was a 10 seed, but they were an underdog, or they were favored in the game, right? Wasn't Utah State favored over Missouri, even though they were the lower seed?
I thought I had Mizzou at like 4.5 or something like that, but you might be right.
Okay. Either way, it was a tight spread, and Missouri really took care of them pretty easily. And then Princeton just beat the shit out of Missouri, like out of nowhere.
That's like a nightmare betting game because like I thought that was like the easiest pick of the day, and especially with how Mizzou looked in round one, and like I didn't bet on it, thank God. But that I felt like while I was watching, I was like, God, I feel like I should be chasing something right now.
Before we move on from this, I think it's. I mean, look, I guess Princeton could technically beat Creighton, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to assume Creighton. I thought they looked really good against Baylor. Yeah. So I think Creighton and Bama, but San Diego State. Like, what do you think about that matchup? Yeah.
I mean, like they're one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think they're ranked 6th in the country in defense. They're also ranked in the top like 15, I think, in KenPom, like overall. Like they're a really good team. I think they beat Arkansas early in the year. They've played a decent, probably a handful of like tournament teams. Like I think, but it's like Utah State. They played someone else early on besides Arkansas, might have been Arizona or something like that. And like they've had a good season, but like it's a mid-major, so people don't really. Here's what I don't like about this tournament. One, everyone hates Bama before everything that happened this year. Two, now they hate him even more, and I totally understand why. I get it.
Yeah.
3.
Oh, buddy, I've been here. Do you remember the 2013 football championship?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone hated Jameis Winston. Everyone hated Florida State.
I feel like they hated him more in 2014.
They did, but it happened like at the very end of 2013.
Okay. You named your dog after him.
I did.
Should I get a corgi and name it Brandon? No.
Miller. Actually, Miller's a pretty cool dog name.
No, I mean, like,
you've been defending him to the ends of earth, so
that's bullshit. I have not been doing that at all. Don't even fucking start doing this. This is what pisses me off because, like, you can't say anything at all, or you're immediately. It's like the most.
Dude, I know. I know. I was there.
Like apples. You fucking hate oranges. It's like I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Somebody, you know what somebody said to me yesterday? This was like one of my favorite comments was. One, there was somebody, I'm not going to say his name, but there was like a slander about Brandon Miller. And again, I get it. I totally get the ire and anger towards him. Totally get it.
Yeah.
But on back-to-back tweets on their own timeline, they had like slandered Brandon Miller and then praised Chris Beard and given him credit for Texas making the Sweet 16. Texas, the school he was fired from for domestic violence, and then somehow got a job again less than 3 months later.
Allegedly.
No, that's why he was dismissed from the school.
For alleged.
Yeah, for a 3-page report that somebody filled out and then walked back. Regardless.
Okay.
It's so difficult to win this tournament. There's only been 2 teams that have won back-to-back titles in the last 50 years. You saw like Kansas got knocked out. Like, I mean, Houston was down by 10 at the half. It's like this has been a really fun tournament because I don't think there's like one elite team necessarily. But I'm just dreading the possibility of like Like if Bama loses to San Diego State, that might be the best opt out of the tournament. Because if you get to the Final Four and they lose to Tennessee,
Oof.
I said this to Tom Hart in the interview. I was like, I will ask you to drown me in an ocean. I won't be able to handle it.
Okay, so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch play out. I've got in my bracket, I had Bama Creighton with Creighton going to the Final Four.
How's your bracket?
It's like half nightmare, but I still have a lot of Elite Eight teams. It's weird. I don't know how I got there, but
I'm at 26%.
Doing
like
some things.
One of the I'm like me and Biden had Arizona like just winning it all. And
it's so perfect that Biden had Arizona. It's unbelievable.
For sure. He probably thought he was like writing out Alabama. But no, I think like going back to like the day one of the tournament, Furman, like there's been some awesome moments.
Oh, yeah.
The moment of the whole tournament was in day one.
I thought Kennesaw State was going to do it, man.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. That sucked. But I really liked the moment afterwards where the coach was like going up to the fans and telling them to keep their chin up.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a fun tournament. I think that I was dreading the fact that like Auburn may beat Houston because I thought that was kind of an unfair draw just in general because they're like a 9 seed. Mm-hmm. But how about Arkansas? Like in without Nick Smith, would have been like your biggest like your favorite moments.
Well, dude, Arkansas. Well, I mean, let's just forget anything that they do in the regular season. As long as they make the tournament, you know they're making a run, at least under the Muss Bus.
Yeah, because he did it 2 years.
Yeah. No, it's obviously great to see. Arkansas is like they play a fun brand of basketball. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know basketball enough to know what it is, but I just know I enjoy watching them play.
Call it the alley-oop. They throw that ball right around that round ball up there.
There was a lot of scares for number 1 seeds. Obviously, Purdue lost, but I mean, I had Houston winning the whole thing, and I thought they were about to lose their first round game for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn went like 4 of 24 in the second half, which helped.
No, I thought Houston was going to lose their 16 seed game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
They only ended up winning by 11, but it was close, like pretty much the entire game. And then obviously Auburn was beating them pretty good, and then they ended up coming back and winning by a lot. I think that Houston-Miami game is going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. People like Miami was a pretty popular pick to get upset in round 1. And there's like not a better example of how much I can mentally fuck myself out of any kind of logical decision making than the 24 hours leading up to the tournament. Like, so we had Calabrese on last Wednesday, and he was awesome. It was like this fascinating, like the stuff his like system play about like
dude, he's great.
He was awesome. But like there was like a couple of things that like teams that I didn't know anything about. And then you'll hear like one thing like in passing, like on ESPN, it's like, yeah, they've got 2 fifth-year senior guards. You're like, wait, what? And then you feel like you have some like nugget of information. You're like, you know what? I'm putting them in the Sweet 16. I did that way too much with my bracket.
I think UConn looks like really good. I think Arkansas is going to have their hands full with them. Kansas State was fun to watch. That point guard yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
With some of those passes he was making, beating Kentucky.
How about the comments afterwards?
What was that?
The coach afterwards, they were asking him like, how big of it was big of a deal it was to beat Kentucky. It's the second time they've done it in 5 years. And he said, like, it wasn't like, it was like something along the lines of like, yeah, like we had better dudes than them tonight. Like tradition doesn't win you games. Like he's like, all those guys that like got Kentucky to this point, they're not coming back. They're not walking through that door. It's just like so matter of fact about it.
What do you think Tennessee and FAU is going to look like? FAU has only lost 3 games all year. They
have the number 1 scoring offense, I think, in the country. They don't have a great defense. That's like a perfect type of matchup. It's honestly kind of how like Tennessee football was a lot of times last year, because Tennessee's defense. Now, if you watch that second round game, because Rick Barnes struggles in March, Tennessee has played 2 of the most physical basketball games I have ever seen this year. One is against Bama, and then
it was close against Louisiana.
Yeah, but like they like the whole idea that they were just going to be like as physical as possible. especially in this day and age where like people are like the amount of foul calls that are happening in games anyway. I thought that was a bold move, and it definitely paid off. I mean, they beat the shit out of Duke.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great game. That's this Thursday at 9:00. I think Izzo obviously back in the Sweet 16. That'll be interesting to see what he does there. Gonzaga UCLA is gonna be a great game. How the hell is Drew Timme still like in the NCAA?
I have no idea. Like him, Stetson, and Hendon Hooker are gonna like. At some point, like they're like 3 years from doing their own Adam Sandler type movie, like grown up style. I mean, there's. I really do wonder how that like affects his draft stock, because he looks like every fucking like 34-year-old that's still putting on like tube socks on like Saturday mornings. Like, I just gotta get out there and get some exercise in, dude.
Yeah.
Doc says I gotta get my cardio up.
But then he just goes out and like lights up the YMCA league.
He's the most frustrating. Like I can't imagine how frustrated I would be to play against him.
Yeah.
Looking at how he looks, like just cack and ball.
All right, so let's get an update here. The Brandon Miller stuff. You want to talk about what came out, like the little patch, the Tuscaloosa patch? Is that what you want to talk about?
No, I like there were updates that came out from I guess that report. I mean, like I think that there's like more and more things that are being released. And I wasn't there. I haven't seen the video. I don't know any of that. I will say that it seemed like it was a change of pace from some of the stories that you heard. Like the New York Times basically was just like, fuck you guys. We have enough money that we can afford to be sued. We don't care. We're going to put the story out there.
Oh, yeah. They're known to do that.
The New York Times is always like
the failing New York Times.
They have their fingertip like on the pulse of Alabama and SEC and also college basketball and sports in general. So like, it wasn't like they were going out of their lane or anything. I mean, like the whole thing was weird because, like, the NATO's thing when he had to have like a security guard.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I don't know, but it was fun to watch them like play on Saturday. I don't think that kid is like a menace to society or some of the things that are being
doesn't feel like it.
So.
Ultimately, I think he will get past this, especially it seems like some of the evidence that's happening behind the scenes.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. All right. So the word you just used is evidence.
Yeah.
Right. So
evidence.
There have been reports that have come out from people that watched the tape of what happened and got to see the same video and surveillance and reports and all that kind of shit that the police had when they made the original arrest. It seems like the police may have like kind of rushed to a conclusion, even maybe with Darius Miles. And I didn't even think I was guilty of this too. I didn't think about, there was never a part of me that even entertained the idea that the boyfriend might have had any blame at all. And I don't know if he did. But the whole thing's kind of become a little bit bizarre because you like in the report, you hear that he's like, this Jeep was like circling the block. They pulled up behind Brandon Miller and he's like,
the report made it was like a very scary scene.
Yeah. Mainly because of the grammar.
Yeah. My guy's not good at grammar.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't notice it. He was, I mean, like I messaged him afterwards. I thought it was like it just seemed like there were so many. I'm not saying everything he wrote was accurate or like that's like the truth that like, I don't know. I haven't seen the fucking tape.
Right.
I will say it's just the irresponsible reporting that's happened with most of it. And just like the way, like just the sensationalism of like, you can just, this is such it elicits so much like emotion from everyone that I feel like people are just kind of like really running with what the fuck ever they want to, because they know that in the long run that's going to make them money.
Oh, that never happens.
Our whole country's based off that. What are you talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about, dude. This is the same thing that has been happening and is getting more and more popular over the course of the last 5 years.
Say what you're trying to say, Tyler.
You know what I'm saying? We're agreeing. We're agreeing, by the way.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, the whole thing is like it's very disheartening, but it was super weird to read some of the stuff that came up because like again, I haven't seen the whole thing, and Darius Miles like lied to the cops, but I don't know. Like, there's like multiple witnesses that said he was actually trying to get them out of there. So the whole thing is just super weird, and also like it was like chaotic to read because it was like it's like broken down in timestamps, and if it's like a Saturday night in college anyway, it's like listening to like a police scanner. Like there's just constant things happening, and you're like, wait, what just happened? And so like you're reading this thing and expecting you're getting to like the climax of the story where like the incident happened, and it's like all of a sudden a fight broke out at CBS, and like anyway, this just was it seemed like a very chaotic night.
For sure. No, what I'm talking about is the media can't wait to find a story to make something relevant off the field. And they know they are very good at finding a team that is successful. Something dramatic happens and there's their story, and they can latch onto that for 6 months. And that could be the number one click on their website. And oftentimes we rush to try to get that out rather than get it right. It's a shame.
You know,
ruin kids' lives. And look,
yeah,
it seems like that's the case here. This kid's life is being ruined, or at least severely messed with.
I'm not and like it's so difficult to say anything because the media is bad enough, and we're in the media, but like that's bad enough. The reaction from fans is just so like disheartening at times because it's like it just feels like there's not a lot of objectivity. You can't really say much without it like eliciting some very aggressive response if it's not exactly what that person like wants to hear or think. And to be honest, like just from like the way some of the stuff reads, I feel like a lot of it is whether we want it or not, based in fandom. Like I don't like if I said something like that was remotely hinting that he like, well, I don't think Brandon Miller killed somebody because he didn't, and he didn't own a gun, and all those things that like were in actual reports, they weren't real. But like the stuff that has been said, like I don't. The whole thing is kind of gross, but like,
well, yeah, it especially because you have that whole side of the story, and then everyone's already moved past the girl who was actually murdered,
right?
And it's like, you know, we're just so I don't know. It's just so annoying, and we all do it, but it's like we come into this like Bama thing where it's like I don't know. I
want to say
if NATO, you think if we could just go back and NATO's handled the press conference better, that everything would be okay?
Oh my God. Which one? No, I don't, because he would have found a way to fuck up the next one he had to be in. Like, I hate like the conversation is there isn't enough actual conversation about what happened because like here's the bottom line. 95% of us will never be in that situation and have never been in that situation at all. Alabama, no, so this isn't true. Josh, and I love Josh to death, but a member of the Alabama basketball team fired a weapon and a woman was killed. That's factually incorrect. A member of the Alabama basketball team brought a gun into Brandon Miller's car, didn't tell him about it, left because Brandon Miller didn't go out. He didn't have a drop of alcohol. He left the scene. And then he sent a text to him saying he needed to be picked up and he needed to get his gun out of his car. That was the first time that Brandon Miller knew of the gun being in the car. And then he drove to that area. Like, I just have a very hard time believing that Brandon Miller, like went from, you know what, I don't want to go out, I'm just going to kind of like be low key tonight, to be like, you know what, I'm going to get involved in a fucking murder. That's a pretty big leap in personality changes.
Yeah.
So a young mother was murdered, and all of us on Twitter, the opportunity to troll. Yeah, that's Ben Diesel nailed it. This is what bothers me.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at
yesterday. And I'm not saying this like that everyone in this fan base did this at all. Because that has been like the broad brush that we're painting like everyone with is just the worst. But yesterday, somebody said to me, like, yeah, like the report comes out and he says, yeah, he brought a gun to a murder where someone was killed and he like isn't behind bars only because of this. And I was like, okay. And I brought up the fact that like this particular fan base really aggressively defended Jalen Carter about the Todd McShay stuff and wasn't saying they were in the wrong, wasn't saying Jalen Carter was guilty, wasn't comparing the two incidents at all. Just saying like maybe like that fan base might understand if they think that Bama fans are being defensive, like, hey, like it's like a mirror. It's a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
And the response I got was something like, well, the difference is a young single mother with a 5-year-old child was tragically murdered in the streets of Tuscaloosa. And Jalen Carter has only been found guilty of driving fast or liking to drive fast. And I was like, that's actually not what he was found guilty of because he was arrested.
Well, I don't even want to make it about that. I just like, so Josh is like, I guess he's thinking that I was recommending that the media just not cover that someone was murdered.
That's what you said.
No, I'm talking about the coverage. They've found something to link to make it controversial, which is the maybe the number one pick in the draft is playing basketball, and we're going to try to find out how he should be guilty of something as fast as we can.
Well, that's technically what the media's job is to do, is to dig up stuff and find the truth and like all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying because you're kind of like phrasing it in there is like I don't want to say like an underbelly of the media. It's like, but there's like definitely a ton of cases where people are ambulance chasing and trying to like get a story first just to get the story and don't care about the repercussions or having all the facts. And that blows my mind. But it is the media's job to report on it. Like 1,000%. I do like, it's just so hard to have any sort of discourse on it because people, as soon as everything happened, I feel like kind of made up their mind. And this happens with everything. It's not just this. You make up your mind of what you believe. And if somebody doesn't kind of like fall in line with that in the middle of the conversation, then and most of this is happening on social media. It's not like people are like sitting next to each other, like happy or like, hey, can I talk to you about the Brandon Miller thing?
Yeah.
You're a stranger. What if they did what if like people in the real world interacted exactly how people did on Twitter?
Oh, dude. I mean, you think the world sucks now. Imagine just everyone doing it in the streets. It'd be insane.
I would have to like publicly say I was leaving like so many public establishments. You know what, guys? I'm gonna take 40 days off of Chili's. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 8 days.
All right. Let's move on from this.
And I don't know if we should do this part.
Chris Beard.
There has been a lot of murder here tonight.
Chris Beard to Ole Miss.
How do you feel about that?
Look, I mean,
also, we've been doing this podcast for 2 years, and you just randomly show up tonight and have this entire fucking professional looking.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? I just learned how to do it.
Cool. All right.
Maybe you don't like it.
No, it looks good.
Oh, fuck off. Okay. Chris Beard. Obviously, things were dropped for his case, and that's what made this okay. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, and I don't. So, like, I'm just. Whether people like believe it or not, like I'm just trying to transparently walk you through like my thoughts on this is like everyone that's listening to this podcast knows like my exact feelings on domestic violence, and I will not like mince words with it. There's like I don't know if this is a like unfair bias or privilege or prejudice that I'm like subconsciously reacting with, but there's a part of me that has this like thought at the start of these things like, well, I guess it looks so bad that it's only happened 3 months ago. They must know something we don't know. And like, right. But that also kind of gives it gives like a an excuse and a pass to what could also be just a win at all costs like decision that nobody gives a shit about because of money and winning. And I'm shocked that Sankey approved this.
But for real, the charges were dropped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case,
you seen the police report?
I admittedly have not.
So the charges were dropped. Like she wrote like it's a very lengthy like report and like graphic with what happened. And I wasn't there, so I don't know. And like I also don't want to be the kind of person that's like just because domestic violence is like a trigger for me and like my personal experience like growing up, I I don't want to like also assume that somebody did that and like paint them as like, in that light.
Right.
It was just weird. I think she made a comment. She's like, didn't realize it was going to be that public or something. And I mean, like, but that is why like that is the reason that Texas gave for firing him in January of this year.
Yeah. 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean, obviously, it's a move you make that is only cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's just winning basketball games.
It just makes me feel like
you legally could hire him because the charges were dropped, but it's just not a good look.
No, I just, why is my face getting redder? More red. I said this like briefly last week. What it makes me feel like is kind of something that's like somewhat consistent in sports at times, which is when it comes to like punishing somebody or like the repercussions of someone's actions, when it involves a woman, I just don't feel like there's like enough. It makes this decision makes me feel like we just don't give a shit about like just say you don't care about women. Like it's just that is such a. It happened 3 months ago. It happened 3 months ago. Like,
did they have a press conference for him?
Huh?
Did they have a press conference, or are they planning to have a press
They
conference?
did, and he was like he couldn't legally like act on it or talk on it. And again, like the charges were dropped, and she was the one like that I think dropped them, and he was found like he was released, and he seems like they seem fine. I guess I don't know, and that's great for them because like marriages. Like, I don't know, but like it is the stuff that you went out of the way for Hugh Freeze. By the way, those things aren't those aren't like comparable things.
Right.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but please stop fucking bringing up like Chris Beard being hired at Ole Miss has nothing to do with Hugh Freeze, and they didn't do anything close to the same. Right. I don't know why we feel the need to compare those two things. But 3 months. I figured it would be like at least like, hey, you know what? Maybe we let it cool down for summer break. I mean like what? They made the announcement as they were done with the season. It was like I just don't get it.
Yeah. Strange, but that'll be fun to see Ole Miss go into rival SEC stadiums
with Mississippi State being good now too. Like I mean, it really is like the SEC got deeper again in yet another sport because he's a great coach. Yeah. I will also say that Ole Miss has made a hire of Lane Kiffin, DJ Durkin, and Chris Beard, and by far Lane Kiffin.
Oh yeah,
is like the choir boy of that group. I don't know. This has been like a pretty serious pod.
Yeah, let's get to football.
Let's talk about taxes. Oh my! By the way, so the guy I like use for my taxes, I've been using since Houston's.
Yeah,
he got arrested for defrauding the the PPP loans for the government.
Jesus,
$3.9 million.
That's tough.
There's 0% chance that like I'm not going to get audited.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be your fault if he did the taxes. Now you may still owe though.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
All right, so spring battles that we are looking forward to the most. Obviously, there is going to be an eye in Athens where you've got Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, Gunnar Stockton. Now Stetson's out doing milk commercials, which I just saw on my Twitter timeline. Stetson Bennett is in a Georgia milk commercial.
What is Georgia milk?
I have no idea. Just showed up on my timeline. Anybody in the chat seen these Stetson Bennett Georgia milk commercials on Twitter? Very strange.
Georgia milk.
Still don't know.
Why? I mean, he's too old to be drinking milk.
He's the milkman, bro.
No, he's the mailman.
He's the milkman here.
What if like that's like how this whole thing happened? Like they just mixed up his nickname. He was like, "Fuck it, I need this money because I gotta pay that what do you call it, ding dong ditch fine that I had."
The mailman, dude. So that one's gonna be fun to watch. What else are you? What other battles? I personally think it'll be fun to see if Arch can challenge Quinn. I mean, I think it's a long shot, but I think it'll be fun to watch.
I think I'm excited to see that just because I think people somehow sleep on Quinn Ewers, despite like how big of a recruit he was. But also, anytime you bring in that like level of talent at the same position, like it is going to raise the level of competition and play for both those kids because like like competition always does that. So I think that'll be good.
You know what's interesting too about that is if this spring Arch is clearly at least second best, they have another 5-star on the roster, Malik Murphy, who's like a dual threat kid. I believe he was the #1 QB coming out a couple years ago out of California.
Okay.
He'll probably end up transferring, and he could be an immediate starter at somewhere like UCLA or something like that. Where that's what's so crazy about football now is we're gonna have these spring battles. And these high-profile ones, like Georgia, for example, you think all three of those kids are going to stay if they name a starter after the spring?
I have said multiple times in the last week that my hot take for spring is that Brock Vandagriff is the starter at Auburn, but like by October.
Does he have a history of like being recruited by?
He was he's recruited by everybody.
Well, but by Hugh.
I mean, I don't think he was
just because they need a starter. You're saying?
I mean, yeah, and it's like it's not far away. It's in the SEC, and like I mean, Auburn has the worst QB room probably in like from teams that matter in the SEC. They have the worst QB room in the country or in the SEC.
Brock Vandagriff seems like such an Auburn name too.
Honestly, it'll be good to break up him and Stetson Bennett IV and Gunnar Stockton. Like that is like the most.
What about Tennessee? What are they doing at QB this year? Not Joe Milton, right?
What?
Are they doing Joe Milton?
I need you to be on the internet more. And like
I got a lot going on right now, Chris.
I know, but I'm just saying like Joe Milton is like in Joe we trust, like
that's a horrible decision. By the way, that'd be a horrible decision by them. What about Florida? I know they got Graham Mertz, but you really gonna go with Graham Mertz?
I feel like Florida needs to probably take a year or two in the ACC. Like we might need to relegate Florida to a different league.
Call Florida State or Clemson up, and let's send Florida down to the ACC.
I'm like barely kidding when I say that. Like that entire situation feels like year one of the Ted Lasso show. Like it went downhill. So, dude, Dan Mullen went to 3 straight New Year's Six Bowls in his first 3 years, and it was just like, dude, I haven't done anything. I haven't recruited anybody. It's awesome. I've just been sitting in the corner watching my wife make out with all these players. That's really what I'm into.
There's a lot of high-profile quarterback position battle races this spring. You got obviously Bama as well. You've got.
I don't think Tennessee's necessarily as much of a race.
Even Ole Miss. I mean, they brought in Spencer Sanders. They brought in Walker Howard. They just brought in Jackson Dart last year as a transfer, so clearly they don't think he's that good. If they brought in 2 other transfers,
Ole Miss feels like they made the worst fucking trade deadline decision. Of like, you know what? We were gonna go get like a frontline starting pitcher, but instead we got like 2 AA vets that have been in the minors for like 9 years, really talented. Like everyone they have in that roster, like besides Walker Howard, because we don't know. None of them like blow you away. Like I don't know why people think that they have like a great QB room because it still blows my mind that why Spencer Sanders would go there. Because I don't think he fits even in Kiffin's offense in terms of like his numbers aren't great.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. Well, I also here's something to look at. We need to probably bring this up. Do you see the arrest for the Bama defensive back Tony Mitchell?
I did. Wow. Yeah, that was a tough one.
So there's more details that have come out, and they're not good.
I have not seen the new details.
Oh, they're good. Okay, so here you go. The police report from Tony Mitchell's arrest. There's a picture that was floating around too of like, because I remember somebody reacted like, "Who? It's a college kid, and he had like a couple baggies of weed, and it's like this massive, like beanbag chair size thing of like just nothing but nugs in there. Like it just, and then and I don't know why we're still doing this, but he had it laid out on his bed. And then behind it, he had neatly stacked $20 like bills behind it and whatever, like to show off. Like, I don't know what the total amount or the increments were, but then he stacked, like, if you take a picture like that, you are going to jail at this point. I don't know why we're doing that.
Call that the John Morant.
Like, I just don't know who's like, you know what? You know, I was thinking about like going to like Olin Mills and getting like some headshots done, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe I'll get like a dick pic and like some really good lighting, or you know what I should do? All the illegal shit that I've been doing, like I should just like promote that on my social media. He had over 220 grams of marijuana and $7,000 in cash that was found in his Dodge Charger.
Perfect.
Which was actually good of him to finally put that part of the story to rest. Like that's not the most egregious part. Also, if somebody can explain to me how much 220 grams is, because I don't understand drug math at all.
I don't know. I don't know how much that is either. Is that something I can ask ChatGPT?
I don't know what ChatGPT is.
You don't know what ChatGPT is?
Alexa, where can I buy 220 grams of marijuana?
No, that's how you get arrested by the FBI.
He was driving 141 miles an hour.
That's probably not something you'd want to do ever, but specifically when you have a beanbag sized bag full of weed.
Yeah, I mean, like, it still blows my mind when people are like, this is like a high level recruit. And now we're in the NIL era. How much could he have sold in weed, which is the cheapest drug there is, to make that worth it?
Here you go. As of March 2022, the price. Oh yeah, the price of 1 pound of weed can range from $1,500 to upwards of $2,200.
How much?
Someone in the chat is saying he had 7.7 pounds.
So 1,500 times 7.7.
Yeah, you're talking about like 15 grand.
That's it
on the higher end.
God, Jesus Christ! I don't see the benefit of like. And also if you're selling weed in Tuscaloosa, like to college kids, like spoiler alert, you probably don't need like really nice weed. You probably don't even need weed at times.
Right. Especially if you're just playing on a full ride scholarship at Alabama, you probably don't need to sell weed.
Yeah, and also from the time like logistically speaking, I have no idea how he would have been able to have the time to set up that many sales. Or unless it was like a Girl Scout cookie situation where they kind of give up after like the season.
Maybe he's just a mule, you know. He's just dropping off to the bigger dogs, you know. Or maybe he's dropping them off to the smaller dogs from the big dogs so they can spread it out.
Yeah, I don't know enough about drugs like to.
You never watched Breaking Bad?
I tried. I didn't really get it. I didn't realize they were like
Tuco.
Huh?
Tuco, you remember Tuco?
No.
Okay. All right. You didn't watch it. Yeah. So I guess the Alabama DB job's open. No, he probably wasn't going to be in the rotation. Any other spring battles you're looking forward to?
I mean, like, yeah, there's like, I want to see what happens in LSU's receiver room, because I know they returned 10 of 11, but they do lose Kayshon Boutte. I want to know also how that running back room is going to progress, because they were good last year at times. I don't know why I can't think of his name now, but like, I mean, they've had several 5-stars in there and like kind of battling through injuries. What is that offense like? I don't think they have to take a next step. But I want to know what that looks like. Then also Devin Leary at Kentucky, because I just feel like at this point, like Kentucky won 10 games in a season with fucking Terry Wilson at quarterback. And I love Terry Wilson as a person.
I go Perry.
But that is tough to do. And now they have a legit talent at quarterback. Like, even like from a production standpoint, he is better than Will Levis. I don't know if he's a higher, level draft prospect, but like you saw how much like Levis struggled when he didn't have the tools around him. So I wonder what Kentucky's able to do there. What else? Tennessee receiver room, like who's going to step up there? Squirrel White, who is not like, is he going to be like the next Cedric Tillman? Like I wonder if that looks like a plug and play situation just because of that offense.
Yeah, I think that's to be expected out of an offense like that.
Yeah, and also I feel bad for saying this, but like Mississippi State, like coming off of like just a horrific ending to your season, and your head coach tragically passes away. So now you have Zach Arnett, who was like going to be a Division I coach at some point, like regardless of how it happened. But now you're kind of like forced in the situation, and like I guess like the tools you had in place were specifically for that offense. And anytime you have an offense like that, in my opinion, it's kind of like the triple option where it takes a year or two to kind of figure out like the roster,
Right.
like shifting and transitioning to like what the new coach wants and would like need to succeed for his game plan. So
it's gonna be a tough year one, I think, just mentally for that team. Okay, and that gets us to our last thing, which is this article, and then obviously at the end of the pod, we're gonna do the Tom Hart on the audio version only.
Oh, we also need to ask the question to our audience about this is the dumbest question in the world. I hate it, and I fucking hate it. But we were panicking for content, or I was. And I want to hear what the audience says. And I also threw out this question on Twitter. But this is my least favorite question right now in sports, which is, would you trade a losing record or losing seasons in football if it meant your favorite team's basketball team went to the Final Four? And this is how this originally was phrased. I remember this last year for like, it was like with Bama fans and Auburn fans, like, would you trade a losing season or 6-6 season if it meant your team made the Final Four?
With a chance, but that they're going to lose in the Final Four guaranteed?
So it was originally posed like as just that.
Okay.
And I have a massive issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take a 6-6
You don't need to
season.
respond to this.
I've been taking 6-6 seasons the last 5 years. I mean, I could take another one.
Yeah.
For a championship, or like at least a chance at a championship, but like just to make it to a Final Four, I don't even really give a shit about that.
Thank you. I don't. So I think it kind of like it spawned from just the pure pettiness between Auburn and Bama fans in general, because it was like Auburn made the Final Four, Bama's never made a Final Four. I don't know how common it is for teams to make a Final Four. Like I don't know if it's like astronauts, where I thought it was like only like very select few teams and people, or if just everyone's making it.
Right.
Like I don't know how many SEC teams made it, but I'll say I was talking to my friend Lillian about this, and she had the exact same attitude about it. It was like, why the fuck would I trade a losing season to finish fourth? Like I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't. No.
And also, like in like the way basketball's set up, like I mean, you're going through like this whole like survive in advance, and then you get to the Final Four, and then this incredible season is over because of how like streaky basketball can be, and like you might have an off night. Like I would be. It's different than even making it to a national title game and losing.
Right.
Somebody said traded 8-3 for a Final Four. Yes. Traded 10-2 and a division title. No. I don't know about that.
What?
I mean, Bama's going to do that this year. So like, besides the division title, this whole question though, it just like it bothers me for some reason. And I compare it to that stupid fucking trend on Instagram now, where it's like, okay, dude, you get $50 million, but you have to live in this mansion that's nowhere near civilization for 1 month. It's on the edge of a waterfall, and you got to live there with your third at right now. Are you doing it, dude? Are you winning that money?
Third at.
What the fuck? Like, there's no rep. Like,
yeah.
You're throwing out these questions.
I'll pay someone to go be able to live in a mansion by myself for a month.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I'll take money.
Maybe it's say like $50,000. Like what? Like whoever's making these is so bad at understanding how like it's like a deal or no deal. It's like, listen, you can have $1 million or this $5 AMC gift card. See any movie you want. Like that's like I don't know. Just the repercussions in this thing, there aren't any. And I don't understand why we're having to, like, this is such a dumb argument because it's not going to happen. So that's how I feel about it.
All right. Last subject here.
No, we have plenty of answers to read. We'll do it at the end, though.
We have plenty of answers to read?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Saturday, our own SDS here. The 20 college football teams that we aren't sold on in 2023.
Number 4 is my favorite.
Number 1, Florida State. Your guy, Brett Friedlander, says that quarterback Travis Jordan, who isn't a real person, and elite pass rusher Jared Verse return. At least get the guy's name right.
What is it?
Jordan Travis.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. Look, I'm a little bit nervous that maybe we're a little overhyped here right now. We did lose our 3 hardest games last year, so except for the LSU game, I guess that's probably
in Florida, and like also in the bowl game, right? Oh, you
guys. Yeah. No, we won.
Did you?
Yeah, we beat Oklahoma,
See,
but Oklahoma was
great. Saying that you're nervous about it because of the last 10 years of PTSD that you have.
Oh well, for sure.
That's it.
I'm used to just trotting in August, being like, well, if we could get 7 wins here this year, boys, we'll be lighting her up.
The level of defeat and how quick you get there every year.
No, I'm not there. Trust me. I highly expect us to at least be in the ACC championship game, at the very least. Like that would be minimum for next year. And I mean, I don't know. We got to get over the hurdle of Clemson, but they've got, I don't know. They got TCU's coordinator now, new quarterback. So we'll see.
At some point, I recruiting all those like white running back and safety is going to catch up with them.
Number 2, Texas A&M. That was from Connor. He's not buying the hype on A&M. Do they have a lot of hype this year though?
Yeah, this is again. So wait till we get to 4, because then I was like this is the least bold take. Like I just
Colorado is number 3.
Dude, I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. I like the beach over a lake. I don't care. I love sand.
Yeah. Colorado, I agree with this one. This is from John Gold. Saturday out west.
This is the one that bothers me so much.
Why?
Colorado was 4-8.
Right. I think a lot of people are expecting them to be really good, and I get that they brought in a bunch of transfers, but they didn't bring a lot of high-level transfers in.
The people that are like, it bothers me that like RJ Young has this take. I was talking to one of our listeners about it in like the Instagram DMs. RJ Young thinks that like he apparently made a comment about how there's like a path that Colorado could take and do what USC did a year ago and it's like 4-8, transfer quarterback, new coach that can recruit, bring in transfer portal, and all that on paper. When you don't include any of the actual information that like under it, sure, they have that in common. You know what is not on staff or on that roster at Colorado? Caleb fucking Williams. Or Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Or Lincoln Riley.
Right.
I just
like Shedeur saying, like his son has been good at the FCS level, but he was an FBS level recruit that went with his dad down a level to play. Same with Travis Hunter. Same with a couple of the other guys that played at Colorado. But it doesn't mean that they're going to suddenly dominate college football.
No, this is like when I used to want my mom to send me to like fat camp when I was like 11, when I was like just Husky, because I knew I would dominate like every single fucking sport they played that year.
Number 4 is Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm in for that for sure. They replace a lot. I just think like, and if they're able to do it, like that's like a great sign for the staff, because like that's the toughest part about like it's not just getting back, it's staying there, and especially with like, they get Georgia and South Carolina at home, but like that is a very difficult thing to do to stay on top. We saw like LSU was at like the highest of highs, and then a year later, Coach O is like letting his fucking future stepson run routes at practice. You never know.
What other team on this list made you laugh or thought you kind of agreed with?
So I'll take you through how I found this. I saw that Florida State was listed first, immediately sent that to you, went back to the article, and then got sidetracked by a Twitter thing because I think it was like the the Saban comments. So Utah being on here is shocking. There may not be like a more consistent, like, I mean, Utah is just like a fucking, like, what's the best way to describe them? Like a Nissan Altima or like a Hyundai. It's like, it's just You know what? They're like a Honda Accord. You know, like they're very reliable. They're just consistently going to be like, you don't know anything new or fun about them. Sometimes they have lights under like the car. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
up in the back, 210s.
No, I mean like the spoiler though for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they're very consistent. Coastal Carolina, I don't have expectations for them.
Right.
They lost their quarterback. I know that for sure. UCLA will be interesting because they lost DTR. Maybe it's too early and I haven't like read into it enough, but I don't know where we're getting all these expectations from.
Number 10, Florida. Like, does anyone expect anything out of them next year?
Why is none of the fucking fonts consistent throughout this article? What are we doing? Oregon at 13. That's a bold take, I think. I mean, you return Bo Nix and like lose a ton of talent as well as offensive coach Adrian Clem. I think this might be like his 5th fucking offensive coordinator in 5 years. TCU.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, unless did they pick up a QB in the offseason?
Transfer? I think they did actually. I mean, they did really well in the transfer portal. They got like half of Bama's like 5
that's true.
years. And they got a couple other guys too. Oklahoma at 9. See that this one I guess I can get behind because that is gonna be interesting to see what they look like in year 2. Strictly because
their defense has to get a lot better.
It has to, and that's his whole calling card. And what's weird about it too is that in year 1, like the crutch that he could have leaned on was having not McKenzie Milton, but Dylan Gabriel as his quarterback, and he also had a ton of receiver talent and a former 5-star on the offensive line and Eric Gray running back.
Yeah.
Fucking trounced by Texas. Oh, there we go, and also Texas.
Texas, yeah. Texas is always perennial overrated.
Who are there 20 teams that we are believing hype in, or like?
No, this is the top 65 teams that we are saying are going to be overrated.
So Connor linked his way too early top 25, and almost all the teams that we just talked about are in here. Florida State is 5th, Utah is 8th, Tennessee is 10, Oregon is 13, USC 12, TCU 15. That motherfucker put Oregon State at 16.
You got to talk to him about that.
Texas 17, but I think he's right here. Like I don't know. Maybe we should have put like some parameters on or explained. Jesus Christ, explained what the level of expectations were.
Yeah.
All right, here's what we're gonna do to close out here. We're gonna read some of these responses from people, and I also have a Yelp review from somebody that went to a game with me this season. One of our listeners from last year.
Okay.
And dropped it in their notes. So you can pull up the tweet. I also put it up on Instagram as well. So as of right now, this was put up 2 hours ago. Oh, it's done. Okay.
All right, what am I looking up?
The tweet, like the comments in this, like under it, of like,
would you your tweet?
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking for it. Hold
on. Would you trade multiple losing seasons in football if it meant your school would make it to or win a Final Four? 374 votes. 3 options were yes, no, and then I go to Vandy. No won by 70%.
Okay.
Overwhelming. I'm gonna go check Instagram because I do think it's interesting. Is like I also think that the people, especially for Bama fans, that are asking the question, it's primarily younger kids that like are more recently graduated from there and have no fucking concept what it's like to go 3-8 under Mike Dubose and like after a preseason number 3 ranking. Like most people that are like throwing out this hypothetical haven't had to go through bad seasons. They haven't had 12 straight 11-win years.
Right.
Let's see here. So we put it up on the SCS Instagram as well and had almost 8,000 votes in an hour. 72% said no. That makes me feel better because I 1,000% agree with that.
I think it's settled at this point.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, man. Well, for those of you listening on live on the YouTube, we appreciate it. This is where we'll end here and then go to the audio version where we will have an interview with Tom Hart. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you later this week.